Independent Redistricting Commission. And I want to welcome everyone to our first public input session. First, I want to acknowledge my fellow commissioners who are joining today. We have Vice Chair Jack Martins, Commissioner Ross Brady, Commissioner Jack Conway, Commissioner John Flateau, and Commissioner Elaine Frazier. So 6 commissioners total. Second, I want to thank the men and women behind the curtain who are making this work today. First, I want to thank Co-Executive Director Karen Blatt, Deputy Co-Executive Director Isis McIntosh Green, Director of Public and Engagement Asia Badi, Assistant Director of Engagement Miranda Goodwin Robb, Data Manager Jonathan Rivas, Co-Executive Director Douglas Brakel, Deputy Co-Executive Director Kevin Murphy, Assistant Director of Engagement Danielle Futia, and Data Manager David Schaefer. Today, we are embarking on New York's first ever public redistricting process, where average New Yorkers have the opportunity to weigh in on their district lines. In terms of our calendar, we'll be having a series of sessions as part of our listening tour between now and mid-August. On August 15th, the Census Bureau released New York's redistricting census data. We will then release our initial proposed set of lines on September 15th, followed by another round of hearings soliciting public input on our initial proposal in October. This will then be followed by our submitting our proposed lines to the legislature in January. Please note, for those of you who were not able to sign up for today's session, we will be having a catch-all session for the entire state in mid-August prior to our beginning to draw lines. So if you did not have the time to prepare for today, please join us then. Some logistical points. Each speaker will be allocated 3 minutes to speak. We have our timer on the Zoom, which will indicate how much time every person has remaining. We will mute speakers if they exceed their time. Commissioners will not be asking questions. All of this session, as well as all written material submitted to the commission, will be posted on our website at nyrc.gov. As we've discussed, we are asking the public to provide information on 2 things before we start putting pen to paper and drawing lines. First, we are asking for information on your communities as they relate to redistricting. Tell us about your neighborhood, your religious group, your school district, your village, and why, as a community, you should be kept together for redistricting. This is what is known in redistricting circles as communities of interest. Second, we are also asking for your input on how your present district lines can be improved. Again, I want to thank everyone involved, but especially members of the public for making their voices heard. This is the first time that everyday New Yorkers will be able to provide input on the lines. And I think I speak for all of my fellow commissioners when I say we intend to make the most of it. This process will only work because of your help. So thank you for joining us. Jack, you want to speak a little bit?
Thank you, David. First of all, thank you to everyone who's participating today, to our fellow commissioners and to the entire staff who has made this possible. Obviously our co-executive directors, Douglas Brakel and Karen Blatt, and the entire staff. I think it's important that we contextualize this process. This is an informal listening tour. And I think it's really important that we understand that that's what we're doing. We made a commitment months ago, informally as a commission, that we wanted to take every opportunity for public outreach, and this is part of that opportunity. But it is being done informally and being done as a means of actually allowing people a voice in this process. This is the first independent redistricting in the history of New York State. And I am proud that the very first informal virtual hearing is taking place in Nassau and Suffolk County, right on Long Island. This is important, the opportunity to, frankly, receive thoughts, input on the communities of interest throughout Long Island. Obviously, the state is very diverse. Long Island is very diverse, and there are communities of interest throughout the island. Some obviously structural, some less so, but we're looking forward to this process. I'm looking forward to working with my commissioners and listening today, more so than anything else, listening and giving everyone else an opportunity, those certainly in Nassau and Suffolk County, an opportunity to share their thoughts with us. So thank you all for participating.
Ross, John, Elaine, John, would you like to speak?
Well, if I may, thank you. Welcome, Long Island. You are very close to our hearts and our minds, and we're very pleased that you are brave enough to engage in this adventure with us. be candid, be truthful, and we'll all make it to the other side. Smarter with better lines.
Thanks,
Commissioner.
Elaine. Yeah, John. Yeah.
Hi, John Flateau here. I'm from Brooklyn, and actually we're the western end of Long Island. So we're right here in the mix with you. We're delighted that you took time to participate in this very important exercise in democracy to help shape the next set of political lines on Long Island and throughout the entire state. This will impact the future distribution of power, money, and public policy throughout the state. So we're delighted that you're participating here, took time out of your schedule. We're here to listen to your concerns and issues. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Ross, John, Conway? Yeah, Ross.
Just briefly, I'm again very proud to be part of this group and thank the staff and my esteemed fellow commissioners, and thank David and Jack for leading up the charge here. And as others might have said, just to ask that people continue and continuously provide us the information. Today we're listening, other days we'll be reading, but the more input, the better. There's all kinds of input, and this is the people's chance to talk to the People's Commission. And now, better than me speaking, I'll be listening.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Conway, would you like to say a few words? We may have lost them, but no matter. So Miranda and Karen and Doug and Jonathan, are we ready to proceed?
Yes.
Miranda, you are on mute. Yep, yeah, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Great. So first up, we have John Taylor presenting. John, you'll be invited to speak.
Can you hear
Welcome,
me?
John. Yes, we can hear you.
First, I want to thank this commission for stepping above and beyond your duty to do these public hearings. I think it's long overdue, and I think everyone in our community will appreciate your efforts.
John, you muted yourself, John. Yeah, you're up.
Sorry, I hit the wrong key. I'm from the village of Bayville. We're a community of 7,000 approximately in northernmost Nassau County. We are surrounded by water. We are bordered on the north by Long Island Sound and by the south by Oyster Bay and Mill Neck Creek. In this capacity, in this situation, storms and flooding are a huge issue for our village, and getting aid from the federal government in the form of FEMA when we have bad flooding and from the state in form of flood mitigation has always been a big issue. I personally have been involved in the village. I've been here for 60 years, spending my summers here as a kid, living here as an adult. And I served as the president of the largest homeowners association in the village for 10 years. This association comprises 205 homes, all in the flood zone. After that, I was on the appointed to New York Rising after Sandy, where we formed the village committee to try to find the best ways to mitigate flood damage and prepare for them. After that, I served as a trustee on the village board from 2014 to 2018. During those three positions, I had to deal with local and state governments quite frequently. And I found that the fact that Bayville is divided right down the middle, east and west, dividing north and south into two assembly districts, made it a little bit problematic. In my own area, that is comprised of 10 blocks, each 2 blocks wide. The northern side of the street is on Long Island Sound. The southern end is on Mill Neck Creek. We have 2 assembly members representing us. I'm on the north side. I'm represented at the current time by Charles Levine. At the southern end of my block, just a block away, those folks are represented by a Assembly member, Michael Monsanto. When we had to deal with getting permits and getting state assistance and getting the DEC in here to build dunes, which we did privately with our own money. But we had to have a lot of help from both of these assemblymen. It didn't help us on the local level with our 205 homes. It didn't help us on the village level. It didn't help us on New York Rising, dealing with 2 assembly members dividing our village in half right down the middle. So I ask you to look at that situation. And again, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
Can we get our next speaker?
Yes, next we have Joseph Sackman. Joseph, you will be invited to speak.
Hi, Joseph.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So my name is Joseph Sackman. I'm a research coordinator at a local veterinary specialty hospital. I'm a lifelong resident of Hicksville, which is located in Nassau County. I'm also an executive committee member of New York Progressive Action Network and a steering committee member of Long Island Activists. In addition, in 2020, I ran to represent District 15 of the New York State Assembly. I'm submitting my testimony on redistricting in the hopes that the commission will recognize that our current district maps are at least gerrymandered, if not cracked and or packed. If an example of this is needed, please look to Assembly District 15. When I was a candidate, people asked me what the district looked like, and I would half jokingly say, like a 3-year-old Picasso attempting to draw a pony. The current districts are drawn in a way that carves up school districts, neighborhoods, and minoritizing communities so they have little effect in a district. For example, District 15 is approximately 71% white, 13% Asian, 11% Latina, 22% Black. You can see a clear example of the community division in District 15 by following the current map from Eisenhower Park to Hicksville along Oak Country Road. The district cuts through multiple communities which typically are underserved and are ignored. There seems to be no logic behind these district maps unless you're either attempting to disenfranchise voters and or favor electoral outcomes for one political party over another. A democracy who does not have the trust of its people is in danger of collapse. When I was a candidate, I spoke with residents who felt their vote didn't matter or they weren't being represented or have never even been approached before by any political entity. Voters are losing trust in the process. They see corruption in the government, and voters who don't feel like they are part of the process are less likely to vote or care about participating. Long Islanders, as well as all residents of New York, deserve a fair, transparent, inclusive redistricting. I applaud the Commission for including the public in this process, and I hope you will consider the recommendations of community stakeholders when we're drawing the maps. I would also ask that you seek to optimize the voter's voice and to restore faith in the electoral system. You can do this by preventing wasted votes, by minimizing the efficiency gap in each district, keeping communities of interest whole, and trust in the science by using proven statistical models that can help draw the maps to make sure every vote matters. Thank you for hosting this public forum and listening to me today.
Thank you, Joseph. Very well timed. Miranda, who is our next speaker?
Great, we have Eliana Fernandez presenting next. You'll be able to speak.
Hello, Eliana.
Good afternoon. My name is Eliana Fernandez. I am a lead organizer at Make the Run New York, the largest grassroots organization of immigrants and working class people of color in New York. We operate in community centers here on Long Island, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and Westchester. Our 24,000 members build the power of our communities to achieve dignity and justice through organizing, policy innovation, transformative education, and survival services. I submit this testimony to share the organization's perspective on redistricting. Increasing civic engagement is a critical part of our work. We conduct outreach continuously to ensure community members' voices are heard. In last year's census, we led in-person, phone, and digital outreach that reached hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers. Our members participated in that process to make certain that our communities receive both adequate resources and representation. Now, to achieve such a representation, we need a redistricting process that is transparent, fair, and reflects the geographic realities and growing numbers of our communities. While we will have more to say when final census numbers are released, today we represent several priorities for this process. They are rooted in federal standards, widely accepted best practices, and our experience in the latest round of redistricting. Particular in the last state Senate map, communities of color were effectively disfranchised both through cracking on Long Island and through high population deviations that concentrated more voters in New York City communities with high Black, brown, and immigrant populations. Our members and allies organized to stop this injustice, but those in power ignore us. Our recommendations focus on ensuring the principle of one person, one vote is respected and that this body does not engage in practices that disfranchise people of color. Number one, respect one person, one vote. Where immigrant, Black, and brown communities have grown, the distribution and drawing of districts should reflect that. This body must respect best practice, equal population and standards, and not concentrate higher numbers of voters into districts with high populations of color or packing. No abuse in line drawing. Avoid cracking and packing with disfranchised communities as we saw on Long Island when state Senate map makers drew a line straight through Brentwood, currently Senate District 3 and 4. Respect political subdivisions and communities of interest. We saw firsthand how Brentwood was sliced in half and other communities of color were manipulated for political reasons. Lines should respect other political boundaries and communities of interest. Compactness and contiguity. Districts should be not like we have seen in prior rounds, especially here on Long Island. Non-partisan gerrymandering. This process should be centered that needs the communities, not political parties. Public participation and transparency. There must be a robust opportunities for engagement, especially on census data that are fully available and you move forward to draw maps. We urge you to take seriously the input of community members and organizations, especially those in historically underrepresented communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eliana. Miranda, who is next?
Next, we have Shoshana Hershkowitz. Shoshana, you'll be invited to speak.
Hi, Shoshana.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for your time. My name is Shoshana Hershkowitz. I live in South Setauket, so in the vicinity of Stony Brook University in Suffolk County on Long Island. I am an educator. I'm also the founder of Suffolk Progressives, and I'm an organizer with the Long Island Social Justice Action Network. And I'm here today to really ask for fair and equitable redistricting. The first time I realized we had a real problem was when I was canvassing in the 2018 midterms in the neighborhood of Gordon Heights, which is a predominantly Black community. And when I was canvassing, I saw that within this 2-mile radius, that population was split between 3 state Senate districts and really diluting the power of that vote and diluting the voice of that community. And I started to investigate, and then I realized that my Senate district was literally drawn around the former Senate Majority Leader John Flanagan's house. The edge of the district is drawn around his house. And finally, the last example I'll give is we've got an assembly district in Suffolk County that is literally shaped like a seahorse. And the part where it's between like the seahorse's tail and the rest of its body is another assembly district. So I think what we've got going on here over the past 10 years is we're disenfranchising communities of color. And we've created a situation where rather than the voters picking their elected leaders, the elected leaders are picking their voters and ensuring their own power as opposed to a democratic, small d, process. So I'm here asking that the next set of maps have no seahorses, have no Picassos. Stick to like squares and rectangles. And if you're feeling really adventurous, throw a rhombus or a trapezoid in there. But generally what we're asking for is a fair and equitable process that no longer disenfranchises communities of color and allows us to pick our elected leaders rather than the other way around. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shoshana. Miranda,
Thank you,
who's
Shoshana.
next?
Yes. Next, we have Edward O'Donnell. Edward, you will be invited to speak.
Sorry. Good afternoon. My name's Ed O'Donnell. I'm representing the group Sayville Citizens for Political Activation. We are a grassroots political organization that covers the towns of Bayport, Sayville, West Sayville, Oakdale, and Great River on the South Shore of Suffolk. I wanted to speak to you today specifically about the recent redistricting. About the recent redistricting of the town of Islip into council districts. As you may or may not know, the town of Islip lost a lawsuit brought by the Latinx community about lack of representation in Islip, as all council members were picked from the general population base. The town decided they had to settle the case and created one district that is a Latinx majority that would allow that group representation. Unfortunately, when they did this, they proceeded to cause other issues with the remaining districts by creating a map that looks like a case study for gerrymandering. In particular, the community of Central Islip, which has the second highest African-American community population in the town of Islip, they had split between 3 different districts. Additionally, what they did is they didn't use any pre-existing geographies, whether it's town, hamlets, zip codes, school districts. They would take an election district from one side and move it to the next. They would take another and move that one to the other side. And not that this doesn't go on across party lines, but of the 15 EDs that were split, 67% of them had a voting advantage for the Democratic Party. The town of Islip is completely run right now by Republicans. So what we're asking is, we went and did a very extensive analysis using metrics, looking at the impact on the population, the voting, existing voting. And we feel that some guidelines should be put in place moving forward, that they use currently existing geographies as the starting point. There's no reason for communities to be split down the middle. There's a plus or minus 10% variation that's allowed in the size of these districts. So there's no reason that can't happen. The districts should be contiguous. The new map they drew has like Central Islip in 3 different districts with, maybe 4 blocks going from south to north. And finally, they should really look at the metrics for the differences between the demographics and the population differences in each new council district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ed. Miranda, who do we have next?
Great. Now we have Karen.
Great, Karen. Yes, we can hear you, Karen.
Thank you. My name is Karen Moskowitz, and I'm testifying on behalf, of the League of Women Voters of Nassau County. The League is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. I don't know why you can't see me, but okay, I'm sorry. Here I go. And we also influence public policy through education and advocacy. As the redistricting process begins in earnest, we ask the Commission to have the following principles and priorities inform your mapping. First, congressional and legislative redistricting should advance the fundamental purposes of representative democracy and a Republican form of government by affording the people a meaningful choice in electing their representatives and by holding the government accountable to the people. To that end, districts should not be drawn to protect incumbents or for partisan political advantage. Legislative gerrymandering disenfranchises New York's voters and places incumbency and party above citizen representation. Voters are discouraged from participating in the political process and their voices stymied when electoral districts are manipulated. Gerrymandered districts undermine the ability of communities to be heard, dilutes their voting power, encourages parties to cater to the extremes of their base, and produces legislative gridlock. These scourges of democracy must be eradicated. For example, many of Nassau's state assembly districts are drawn in ways that in no way represent communities or even their geographic barriers. The strange shapes of the districts are a clue to the machinations of the last redistricting process, which didn't serve voters. New York Assembly District 13 skirts the Long Island Sound and resembles an empty fist, with areas carved out for a different district. Freeport is divided among Assembly Districts 18 and 21. Districts 15 and 19 have two lobes connected by a thin corridor of land. Senate Districts 5 and 8 cover both Nassau and Suffolk, which sometimes have different legislative needs. Elected representatives are the most vital link between citizens and their government. This cycle's redistricting process must not divide communities, and the process must be driven by the interests of communities, not of elected politicians or parties. Second, Nassau residents face many pressing issues: affordable housing, the impact of climate change, the disparate impact of COVID on communities of color. Infrastructure needs, a high tax burden, inequities in public education, and a spike in opiate overdose deaths, to name just a few. Given that redistricting impacts every issue our communities face, the Commission must create fair, nonpartisan congressional state electoral districts, and it must ensure that the redistricting process is fair, transparent, and accessible. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and we look forward to the inaugural redistricting process under the Commission.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Karen. Next, we have Assemblywoman Jody Giglia.
Hi, Assemblywoman.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to start off by thanking you all for the hard work that you're doing with this task, and we gave it to you in such a short period of time. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I just wanted to be brief and say that we are waiting to see the results of the census and waiting to see the proposed maps, and hopefully we will come to a conclusion with the redistricting before January 11th. I believe the legislature would have to vote on the redistricting. But I'm sure you're doing your jobs and you're working hard, and I look forward to working with you and to seeing the results of the census and the maps. And that's all I'll say.
Thank you, Assemblywoman.
Thank you, and have a lovely afternoon.
Same to you.
We have Elise Antonelli. Elise, you'll be invited to speak.
You all hear me?
Yes, hi, Elise.
Hi, let me just turn my video on. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry for the challenges. And thank you for this opportunity to speak. I think it's wonderful that you are soliciting input from the community, which is so very important. To introduce myself, I'm a member of the Bayshore Babylon Huddle. We are a local grassroots organization dedicated to voter education and empowerment. And we've worked with organizations like Make the Road, Sisters of St. Joseph, Sayville Citizens, to encourage people to participate in the 2020 census. So we're very vested in making sure that this process results in something that's fruitful and beneficial to our communities. The overarching objective of any redistricting, as I'm sure you agree, should be fair and equitable district lines which support the best interests of our communities being represented. And to this end, it's my opinion, and as you've heard the opinion of others as well, district lines should honor already existing subdivisions. For example, my district, Congressional District 2, previous to the 2010 census, was predominantly Suffolk County with one village, Plainview, in neighboring Nassau County. Following the 2010 census, so 10 years ago, CD2 was redistricted to include Seaford, Levittown, and Massapequa, 3 additional villages in Nassau County. All that I'm requesting is that the county lines be honored when redrawing CD2, and that in general, as it has been mentioned, every effort is made to respect existing school districts, electoral districts, county lines, village lines, and any other existing jurisdictions when the lines are redrawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise.
Thank you, Elise.
Next, we have Kevin Hines. Kevin, you will be invited to speak.
Hello, Kevin.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Very good. Am I coming in good?
Yes.
You look great.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so if it's okay, I'll begin. Great. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to testify this afternoon. My name is Kevin Hines. I'm a 50-plus year resident of the Lake Ronkonkoma community, and I'm the president of the Ronkonkoma Chamber of Commerce, which spans the greater Lake Ronkonkoma community in Suffolk County. I'm here today to express my thoughts on the upcoming state legislative redistricting. The hamlets of Lake Ronkonkoma and Ronkonkoma share a zip code and are both located within the present Assembly District number 5. As a resident, business owner, and community leader, I'm here today to advocate that the Ronkonkoma community be allowed to continue to be represented in a single assembly district as it is today in the 5th Assembly District. There are an estimated 39,000 residents living in 13 square miles in Ronkonkoma, but while we're in the central middle class community nestled around beautiful Lake Ronkonkoma, our community is a borderland spanning 3 townships. We are on the border of 2 school districts. We have 4 county legislators sharing the community, 3 state senators, and 2 members of Congress. So the only elected official that represents the entire large and central Ronkonkoma community is, at the moment, the State Assembly District number 5. By having a single dedicated state representative, where a significant portion of the district includes the entire Ronkonkoma community, it is critical to our region. This community has often been forgotten as an afterthought, since it is a borderline, and an afterthought since it is divided up among so many various political jurisdictions. Our community needs a dedicated voice and elected representative that can advocate for the entire middle-class Ronkonkoma community that is not as financially affluent as some of the other Long Island communities. The current boundaries of the 5th Assembly District make a lot of sense. Therefore, we think it is helpful that our community remain intact after the next round of legislative redistricting. And we're urging you, please do not break up the only unified legislative district that we have representing the Ronkonkoma community. So again, thank you for your time, and I hope that you take our community's concerns into account. Have a great day.
Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Nancy Schulman. Nancy, you'll be invited to speak.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, everybody. How is everyone today?
Good. How are you?
Okay. So a little about me. I live in Long Beach, but a lifelong Long Island Islander, and I feel strongly that shapes of districts should be geometric in nature, with in the shapes of rectangles and squares, and take into account schools, and let's make sure that that districts are well drawn, so that everyone can get the funding that they need for things like schools and infrastructure.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Appreciate your coming.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Michael Pernick. Michael, you will be invited to speak.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
Good afternoon, Chair Amamora, Vice Chair Martins, members of the Independent Redistricting Commission. My name is Michael Pernick. I'm a redistricting counsel with the Legal Defense Fund, or LDF. Founded by Thurgood Marshall, LDF is America's premier legal organization fighting for racial justice. I want to thank the Commission for the opportunity to testify today. Today's hearing is personal for me. I frequently testify on voting rights issues across the country, but I actually live in Rockville Center. I grew up in Nassau, so this is a very personal hearing for me. And I'd like to highlight a couple of key points from the written testimony that we submitted yesterday. First and foremost, I want to emphasize that you as the Commission have an affirmative obligation to ensure compliance with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The VRA requires you to ensure that voters of color have an equal opportunity to participate in the political process and elect candidates of their choice. The Supreme Court laid out the legal test for redistricting under the Voting Rights Act in its 1986 opinion, Thornburg versus Jingles. According to the Supreme Court, a district map may unlawfully dilute minority votes when three preconditions are present. First, if it's possible to draw an alternate map that includes a majority minority district. Second, if a minority group votes cohesively in support of preferred candidates. And third, if the candidates that are preferred by minority voters are usually defeated under the map that's enacted. Now, once these three preconditions are established, courts will ask whether minority voters have less opportunity than others to participate in the political process and elect candidates of their choice. In practical terms, what this means for you all is you should be seeking out opportunities for voters of color to elect candidates of their choice as you're deciding district configurations. This effort is especially important on Long Island, which has been home to significant litigation under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Just last year, a federal court approved a consent decree replacing ISLIP's at-large election structure with district-based elections in order to resolve Section 2 claims. And one of the most significant cases brought under Section 2 outside of the South was right here on Long Island, the Gooseby case, which ultimately went up to the Second Circuit and resulted in a finding of liability against the town. From these cases and others, we know that elections on Long Island are racially polarized. We know that plaintiffs on Long Island are able to satisfy the requirements that the Supreme Court laid out in Thornburg versus Jingles. And for that reason, when drawing maps on Long Island, it is especially important that the Commission is vigilant and seek out opportunities for voters of color to have their voices heard. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Michael. So commissioners, I have good news. We are ahead of schedule. I don't think I've ever heard that uttered in a government meeting. Would people like to take a break or should we keep going? John, you want to keep going, John? Jack, okay. Ross, Elaine?
Whatever works for everybody.
Okay. John Conway, you want to keep going? All right, so Miranda, well, let's keep on being ahead of schedule.
Great. We have Alex Piccarolo. You'll be invited to speak.
Hi, Alex.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex Piccarolo, and I want to thank you for giving me the time today to testify to you regarding my thoughts on the upcoming redistricting for the New York State Legislature. I currently serve as an elected trustee, the president of the Board of Education for the Sachman Central School District. But for the record, I am testifying here as a private citizen and community member, and I am in no way representing the board. But I am offering my own individual and personal opinion about the current legislative maps and future legislative maps. Specifically, I would like to talk to you about the current New York State 5th Assembly District map. As a resident of the Sachman School District and as an educator, I appreciate that one of the largest suburban school districts in the state, with an estimated 93,559 residents, according to the latest 2019 census, and educating about 13,500 students in our K-12 programs, that we have a dedicated state assembly district that covers nearly the entire school district and surrounding community. With over 93,000 residents in the Sachem School District, we have more people living here than a population of 31 New York counties and most townships in the state. With a top issue of the state legislature being school aid funding, it is helpful that our community has a state assembly district that keeps our community together. The Sachem School District consists of the hamlets of Holbrook, Holtzville, Lake Ronkonkoma, Lake Grove, Farmingville, and Wisconsin here in Suffolk County. These hamlets comprise a single Sachem community with its own identity, a middle-class community in the center of Long Island with middle-class concerns and the struggles of living paycheck to paycheck. In the lower house of state government, with assembly districts being around 130,000 residents, more than half of the current 5th Assembly District includes most of the 93,000 Sachem District residents. I am hopeful that this will continue, as our middle-class families should continue to have like-minded representation. I am concerned that grouping our community with much wealthier communities on the South Shore, as an example, could dilute the voice of our communities, which have unique middle-class challenges. In summary, as you continue your important work to ensure that our communities are fairly represented on Long Island and throughout the state, I believe the current 5th Assembly District is well-drawn and balanced. Thank you. I look forward to seeing this critical work being completed. Thank you, everyone.
Alex, thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Great. Next, we have Bob Keeler. Bob, you'll be invited to speak.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Bob.
I'm sorry.
No worries. May I compliment your picture, Bob?
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, as I said, we moved to the Three Village School District for the excellence that we found here. Both of my daughters were educated in its schools. But now, thanks to the magic of past redistricting, you might say that we live in the 2 and a fraction school district. Only the tiniest portion of the district remains in Senate District 1. Most of it was removed to Senate District 2 in a previous redistricting. And I think it's time to reconsider and redo that. As a member of the Newsday editorial board before I retired, I often wrote about voting issues, and I have come to think of partisan gerrymandering as one of the core inequities plaguing our republic. As you know well, one of the bedrock principles of fair reapportionment is the need to honor communities of interest by not splitting a village or city or school district arbitrarily between legislative districts. Too often, the less than noble purpose of that splitting is to protect the incumbency of a public official who belongs to the party that's doing the redistricting, or to disadvantage an official or candidate from the other party. To avoid that sort of inequity, of course, is the key reason that we have an independent redistricting commission and that we're all depending on you so much. A past redistricting arbitrarily placed my home in Senate District 2. The most powerful constituency in that district is the staunchly conservative town of Smithtown. You may not have noticed, but in the past school elections, phony furor erupted in Smithtown over critical race theory. The Three Village District, in contrast, is known as a progressive area. The senator who represents Senate District 2 theoretically represents both of these very different communities, but Smithtown is a far more powerful element of that district. So if it comes to a conflict between the Three Village and Smithtown districts, guess which one that senator will aim to please? You can eliminate that conflict by putting the entire Three Village district into Senate District 1 where it belongs. Speaking of education, that same past redistricting also removed Stony Brook University and its hospital from District 1 and plopped it down in District 2. That separated two of Long Island's powerhouse research facilities, Stony Brook and Brookhaven National Lab, into two different Senate districts. It would make so much more sense for one senator to represent both, so that senator could act as an effective advocate for the deeply interlocked interests of the university and the lab. University is the largest user of the lab and is also part of the entity that runs the lab. So it's nonsensical to separate the two institutions into two separate Senate districts. I hope the commission will see the logic of rectifying the damage that a past redistricting did to the school district, to the lab, and to the university, and put them back where they belong, together in the same Senate District 1. Thanks a lot for letting me offer my views.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Next, we have Deborah Payton Jones. Deborah, you're invited to speak.
Hi, Deborah.
Hello.
Hi, Deborah.
Thank you so very much. Hello, and thank you so very much for this opportunity. I am Deborah Payton Jones. That's DeborahPayton-Jones. I offer this testimony in honor of the members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, who served and continue to serve as a voice of the voiceless. A few of the notable members who have laid the groundwork to work and to advance civil rights and voting rights include Shirley Chisholm, the Honorable Marcia Fudge, Congressman Beatty, Fannie Lou Hamer, Janetta Cole, Sherilyn Eiffel, Keisha Lance Bottoms, April Ryan, and so many more. As a member of the Suffolk County Alumni Association of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, we are located right here in Suffolk County. And my testimony is provided to support communities of color, all communities of color in the 2nd Congressional District and the New York State Legislative District. Our congresspersons and senators and assembly people in this area know us, and they know us well. We make sure that we allow them to know from our perspective how unique our communities are. Our communities are so unique that we say the majority of our minority communities are surrounded by communities of very different and differing needs and priorities. And I hope as we move forward in this process, you'll keep this in mind and ensure the interests of all residents are considered, whether they're on one side or the other side of the line. I also am the founder of Voter Education 365, which is a not-for-profit organization that works daily to educate underserved residents in an effort to help them understand the power of their vote and the importance of being knowledgeable about all the political processes, including redistricting. Working with the Complete Count Census Committee helped me have a better understanding of why it's important for us to speak out and to at least let others know that our voices are important. And it's important for you to take into consideration as a committee that everybody's voice should count. As you continue your listening tour and expect to receive additional testimony, please expect to receive additional testimony from the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, as well as from Voter Education 365. Thank you so very much.
That's 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds left, Deborah. Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we understand that all 62 counties and the 5 boroughs in New York City are on board with what we're trying to do. Make us all one, and everybody has an equal vote. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Harrison Bench. Harrison, you will be invited to speak.
Hi, Harrison.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harrison Bench, and I'm a 20-year-old rising junior at the University of South Carolina, but I am a native of Sayville, and I am an independent registered voter in Suffolk County. For those of you who don't know Sayville, we are a quaint coastal town of about 16,000. We have a very walkable Main Street district. We have some beautiful public parks and beaches, and we share a very highly awarded school district with neighboring West Sayville. In Sayville, community means so much. Togetherness means so much. But do you want to know what is tearing through this togetherness? It is state legislative lines, literally. State Senate districts 3 and 4 literally crisscross through Sayville and West Sayville, cutting some neighborhoods into one district, others into another, oftentimes cutting right through streets and houses on streets. You know, this isn't something that is uncommon in Suffolk County, as I'm sure you're aware, going through the current districts. Smithtown is split between congressional districts 1 and 3. Melville is absurdly in Senate districts 2 and 5. And then Assembly District 9 literally creates a U shape right around Amityville, Copeg, Lindenhurst. It's ridiculous. New York has done a lot to curb gerrymandering and to make practical districting a reality, right? You know, it's something that we pride ourselves on here in New York as opposed to some other states in other parts of the country. You know, this commission is a really great first step, but it's really important that we don't fall asleep. The work of this commission will be felt for the next 10 years. And, you know, it's not unreasonable to say that the balance of the United States Congress could very well rest on, you know, what you guys do and the district lines that you guys draw. I did not come here today with numeric figures to share. I did not come here today with maps that I created myself. I am not a redistricting expert, but that is exactly why I'm here, because the 3 million residents of Nassau and Suffolk counties are not redistricting experts. They are working people with real issues. I'm here today on behalf of the next generation of youth, of, you know, Generation Z in Suffolk County, Nassau County. You know, we're concerned about the threat of climate change, nitrogen pollution in our local bays, you know, the housing unaffordability crisis, inequitable and unreasonable representation. That all starts with having common sense districting, right? And common sense representation. We need to feel protected, not played by our elected leaders. And that starts with an end to local gerrymandering and ridiculous district shapes. So on behalf of the young people, I know I am running out of time, but on behalf of the young people of Long Island, I make one plea today for community first redistricting. Please do not split apart communities, school districts, zip codes where possible, because it's important that we have a sense of community pride, and it's important that we feel that our districts and our elected representatives are really, you know, doing the job for us and listening to our concerns. That really does start with districts that make sense, don't look ridiculous. I know a colleague of mine was talking about a seahorse shape. These are things that are very easy to do, and I really look forward to seeing the work that you guys do. Let me speak.
Thank you, Harrison.
Thank you.
Great. Next, we have Brittany Bai. Brittany, you're invited to speak.
Welcome, Brittany.
Hello. Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to the Independent Redistricting Commission for organizing these series of public hearings for the upcoming redistricting cycle. My name is Brittany, and I'm the community organizer at Sepa Mujer, and we're located out here in Suffolk County. And basically, Sepa Mujer, we stand for the well-being and success of Latina immigrant union women in Long Island. And our objective is to raise and unite our voices to be heard by social and political systems and our communities. And through our work, we strive to nurture, improve civic engagement by ways of leadership skills and legal representation. So Sepa Mujer is a member of Mapping Our Future Coalition. And basically, we're a statewide coalition of advocates dedicated to mobilizing the grassroots folks to get involved in redistricting and advocating for a fair process and fair maps. So as you guys are well aware, the opportunity to draw fair districts only comes every 10 years, and we don't get any do-overs, right? And if we don't get this right, our communities have to live with these consequences for the next decade. That's a long time. So, you know, as I said, we work with the immigrant community in Long Island, and many of our members have noticed the inequality surrounding representation and the way the districts are set up. And this is really evident from our work in the 2020 census, when we saw so many immigrants who are afraid to fill out the census and be counted. And basically, as we all know, right, this led to an undercount in New York State and ultimately And this upcoming election cycle in 2022, it led to a loss of a congressional seat, and that was only by 89 people. So now basically there's going to be a loss of representation for schools' resources and what our community truly needs. And this is really evident specifically in our low-income communities that were at the forefront of the pandemic, right? Places like Brentwood, Bayshore, Hempstead, Huntington Station, Riverhead. And these were all places that are predominantly made up of immigrants. And, you know, so many of these immigrants are folks without health insurance. Many folks got sick. But as you know, the redistricting process is really important step in this, and these well-drawn districts can help protect New York's immigrant communities and communities of color. So what I'm asking for you all right now is to do more outreach into the community, call our community members, go door to door, and make sure that these meetings are held in different communities so more people are able to attend after work, so that more directly impacted folks are able to be at the decision-making table. This is so important. So thank you so much for your time. And we really hope that this makes an impact on redistricting work because it needs to be more in the community.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany.
Next, we have Jeremy Joseph. Jeremy, you are invited to speak.
Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jeremy Joseph. I'm a scientist and mathematician. Additionally, I am a steering member for Nassau Democratic Socialists of America and Long Island United. As a personal note, I am interested in redistricting practices, and so I'm generally up to date on latest research on how to do fair districting. So with that in mind, I'll be sure to submit some written testimony regarding some pain points in Long Island. And I hope that they will be redundant because you will likely identify the same ones. This seems like a good faith process so far, and I appreciate that. For the purposes of today's testimony, I'll narrow the scope down and just talk informally about my own community. So I live in Hicksville, which is in central Nassau County. It is mostly working class community. It's diverse. It's built around a transit hub. Now, our Assembly District 15, it contains Hicksville, and then it snakes around our neighbors, Westbury and Newcastle, all the way up, and excludes them, all the way up to the northern shore, northern Oyster Bay, which is mostly white and affluent neighborhoods, which have very different economic needs as our area. Now, going back to this area that is excluded, our neighbors, Westbury and Newcastle, looking at census data, you can see they are overwhelmingly Black and Hispanic in area, and they're also working class, just like us. We share a lot of the same political and economic needs, and yet, while we're neighbors, we are split, and we are both snaked up to different parts of the northern shore. What this has created, two kind of dancing districts. One is very safe red, one is very safe blue, but ultimately we have two central Nassau communities here that are both working class, and I believe should probably share the same assembly district. So if you look at our state Senate District 7, we are all kept contiguous in that district. I would hope for the same for our assembly district. So if you want some specific notes, please note that. And that's all I have to say for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think we're going to take a brief break now.
So yeah, Miranda, just to clarify, there's no one in the queue, right? So
we are waiting on some people who I think have had some schedule changes. So if we can take a brief break and allow everyone to participate after.
So Commissioner, should we reconvene at 3:30 or is that too late, Miranda?
That's fine on our end if that's what's best for you.
Commissioners, would that work for everyone? All right, so we will take a short break until 3:30. Oh, did we lose Elaine entirely? Well, she probably just logged off. Okay. Nope, there's Elaine. Commissioner Frazier.
Hey, how you doing?
The lights are on again, I see.
Yeah. The lights are on.
Commissioners Brady and Conway, are you with us? We'll give them a minute or two.
Wow.
David, let's just continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
Jeff.
So, all right.
We're
Yeah,
on
Commissioners
words
Brady and John, Ross, are you guys around? Because otherwise, oh, John Flotelo, I see you, but John Conway. All right. Well, yeah, there being no objection to continuing. Oh, there we are, Commissioner Brady. All right. So Miranda, if you could put us back on track again.
We are waiting for one moment. We're just getting people back into the room.
Take your time.
Sorry. Great. Next, we have Michael Frigan. Michael, you are invited to speak.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, good afternoon.
How are you?
Okay, I hope the break was enjoyable. Everybody's refreshed. I will keep these remarks short. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the commission. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Frigan. I have been a resident of the Village of Lawrence in Nassau County for 22 years and a member of the Village Board of Lawrence since 2008. I appear today not just to speak on behalf of my constituents in Lawrence, but also on behalf of an area known as the Five Towns of Long Island. The Five Towns is actually a misnomer. It is not a collection of towns, but a collection of villages and unincorporated areas, all located within the town of Hempstead, such as Atlantic Beach, Cedarhurst, Inwood, Hewlett, Lawrence, and Woodmere, as well as Woodsburg, Hewlett Bay Park, Hewlett Neck, Hewlett Harbor, and some other areas. I want to address three specific areas with regard to the decennial reapportionment process, a process that should preserve the five towns as a whole in the same legislative districts for both the Assembly and the State Senate. Point number one is one of local government. We live in an area directly proximate to New York City, but we are very different from New York City. New York City government is a behemoth and can generously be characterized as essentially non-responsive to the needs of our neighboring Rockaway Peninsula. In fact, the Rockaways is often cited as the forgotten part of New York City. Some like it that way, others less so. We in the five towns certainly do not wish to be subsumed within a New York City-based district that would not meet our needs. Point number two is geography. We are a coastal district, and attaching the five towns to a district that runs north into south central Nassau, or even a border of the Queens-Nassau border, would not be beneficial to our needs and the unique geography that we occupy. Point number three is one of demography. The Five Towns is unique in that it has one of the highest concentrations of Jewish residents, and more specifically, Orthodox Jewish residents in Nassau County and in the whole state of New York. As a community that primarily sends its children to private schools, many of the residents of the Five Towns area have a common interest in being within the same legislative district with representatives that are responsive to their unique needs. In summary, I ask that the commission maintain the integrity of the Five Towns area within one district for both houses of the state legislature in the upcoming reapportionment, and not in any way attach us to New York City. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Great. We are waiting for a couple more presenters who are having some technical troubles, and then I think we'll be wrapping up shortly.
Jack, your daughter is not gonna come before the commission?
Thank you.
I found the key to the lights. As long
That's
as
a very important find, Elaine.
as long as the door is open, the lights will stay on.
Right.
We close the door and it's on and off and whatever.
Yeah, I thought.
That's very profound. Yes.
A piece of philosophical, truism from Elaine Frazier. And
I got some words for you, Jack. Okay, so don't start with me. We're being recorded. All right.
Great. So
Okay,
next
Miranda.
we have,
Go
we
ahead,
have
Miranda.
Louise DiCarlo. Louise, you will be invited to speak.
Luis, you are on mute and have your video muted. I don't know if you can hear us. Oh, there you are. Hello.
Oh,
Luis.
how lovely. And I do Zoom meetings every single day. So that was textbook rookie move. So I apologize.
No worries always.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. My name is Louise DiCarlo. I have been a resident of Stony Brook, part of the Three Village community since 1982. I've been an active member of the community, both in the school district, serving as an elementary and high school PTA president, joint council president, and serving on numerous community committees. I currently work as the Director of Faith Formation at St. James Church in Setauket. So I both work and live in the community. I'm here today to request that the Three Village community be moved back into the New York State Senatorial District 1 so that we can be equitably represented. District 1 includes large portions of the town of Brookhaven, which you know, Southold, Shelter Island, Southampton, East Hampton, and Riverhead. And I just want to preface that I agree with everything that Bob Keeler said earlier. He spoke eloquently about our community. The Three Village community just has a different vibe than Senate District 2. It's become a real melting pot, cultural melting pot. It's evolving into a great college town, which mirrors more the communities to the east of us than to the west of us. The most important reason that the Three Village community should be reunited with Senate District 1 is that its current representation in the Suffolk County legislation and the Brookhaven Town Council both represent the constituents of current Senate District 1. It just doesn't make sense that our Senate district should be different. We need to be working together with common philosophy, and that can only occur when representation is consistent throughout each level of government. Three Village shares common historic, economic, social, scientific, educational, and environmental interests with the current communities in Senate District 1. We are more aligned with the policies, legislation, and program implementation from this district than we are for District 2. I respectfully request that you consider moving the entire Three Village community back to Senate District 1 to ensure cohesive, fair, and effective representation. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thanks, Louise.
Great. Next, we have Lily Crowder. Lily, you will be invited to speak.
Hello,
Hi, Lily. How are you?
I'm finally on. And I want to thank all of you for being very patient with this person who has lived for 8.5 decades. So I'm very proud to get on. Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. I thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Lily B. Crowder. I am a 22-year resident of Middle Island, New York, with district lines running adjacent to and or including Gordon Heights, Coram, Bedford, all within the town of Brookhaven. These areas house dense populations of African Americans and people of African descent and others, of course. After a tenure of 32 years at the New York City Board of Education, central headquarters in 110 Davidson Street, Brooklyn, New York, and the Division of School Facilities in Long Island City, I retired more than 25 years ago with the thoughts of relaxing and taking on some of my hobbies. But it appears as today, this is still my hobby. Instead, I became involved in my new community, offering service and time as a member of the Gordon Heights Civic Association Board, the Longwood School District Safety Awareness Committee, the Longwood Principal Selection Committee, and the Caithness Advisory Committee as well. I served both as the co-chair and chair of the Town of Brookhaven Seniors Advisory Committee with my peers who probably have retired, and was invited to serve on the town's planning board, which attests someone to my activism and my concern, and also my longevity in the process towards equal justice for all. I am here today to request that this commission does not permit cracking in our community to continue. Cracking, it is noted, refers to the practice of drawing electoral districts and dividing the population of a community and its constituencies across several district lines. Previously in my community, it could be seen in the aforementioned communities with outcomes resulting in disenfranchisement and voter suppression. My point is the partisan fracturing of Gordon Heights and neighboring areas prevent densely populated African-American communities from having effective and fair representation. And so I respectfully request that the aforementioned communities of Gordon Heights is not fractured along with the others in this districting process, and that the commission recommends bringing our communities together. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for allowing me to speak and get on at 85 and a half. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. Really appreciate your coming on.
Thank you.
Lily, next we have Mimi Pierre Johnson. If you give me a moment, you'll be invited to speak.
Welcome, Mimi.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Well, I have been having such an issue trying to get there, so bear with me a second. I finally got through on my cell phone. And in the process, I've lost my testimony that I wrote. Okay, so my name
Take your time, Mimi. Take your time. Okay.
My name is Mimi Pierre Johnson. I am the president and founder of Elmont Cultural Center in Elmont. The Elmont Cultural Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And Aubrey Phillip, also a friend of mine who was supposed to be here, but he didn't get his slot for today. So I hope he and some other people in our community will have the opportunity to speak at later hearings. Well, you know, I guess the speech, I'm just going to speak from the heart. You know, Elmont community 10 years ago, and I have to say to the commission that I've waited 10 years to come before you. Elmont 10 years ago when we were redistrict, we were so fractured that on paper it looks like we should have so many representations, but We don't, because imagine trying to get a meeting with one elected official. And now you have 3 senators, let's say, that you have to put their schedules together just to speak on things together with your neighbors. And I think that's one of the things that redistricting does to a vibrant community like ours that is so diverse, is when we are no longer able to communicate with our elected officials together on one issue. And it was really sad to see my neighbors across the street from me. We cannot speak about the same senator, because right across the street from me is one Senate district and I'm on the other side. And I think this is the problem that 10 years ago that the commission did not see, and you know what we have been doing as a coalition, a broad coalition, is to try to educate our community on exactly what redistricting is and how important it is for our resources, and also to work with our elected officials to get the things that we need. So this year, I want to make sure that as the maps are being thought about for our communities, that it is a fair process. It is a process where more than just one meeting or a pop-up meeting like this one, but we have plenty of meetings and we have plenty of time to let our community know that the hearings are coming. And so what I would ask of the commission is to please not only think about more hearings, more education, and support for those of us who are underground, whether with materials or all the things that we need to have a successful redistricting cycle this time around. And I thank the commission for your time.
Thank you, Mimi. And just as a note, we will be having a catch-all hearing later in August. So if for the entire state, for anyone who couldn't attend each of these hearings. So
okay, and will there also be online?
yes, it will be virtual. Yes, thank you for coming before the commission. So my understanding, Miranda, is that Mimi was the final person. Is that correct?
We're through everyone who has signed up for today.
Great. All right, well, on behalf of the commission, I want to thank the people of Long Island, Suffolk, and Nassau County for joining, but I leave it to our esteemed Vice Chair, Jack Martins, to say the final word. Jack.
Well, thank you, David. First one in the books. I think it went very well. And again, I thank you to my fellow commissioners and to our 2 co-executive directors and staff who put it together. We asked you to do this in a relatively short period of time. We're literally building this plane as it's flying. But what a great afternoon we had together, listening to testimony and advancing this effort in creating the first independent redistricting effort in the state of New York. So congratulations to everyone involved. Looking forward to another one later this week.
We'll see everyone virtually in Queens on Thursday.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.